Hi, everyone. I have a pretty special teaching today that comes from Julian of Norwich, who lived from 1342 until 1429. And I really love Christian mystics. I don't know if you know this about me. Um, and I love reading the stories of their lives. Now, Julian herself is very interesting to me because she lived, there's a few things that are interesting. One is that she lived during the plague, and then the social uprisings and changes that happened after that time. So it was a very difficult time. There was a lot of people who had lives lost, and there was a lot of violence, and there was a lot of death, and there was a lot of destruction, and there was a lot of change. I'm also really interested in her because she chose the spiritual monastic path. She was a spiritual counselor, and she wrote a book called The Revelations of Divine Love. And she really chose to live her life as in a more monastic, spiritual study kind of way, rather than the home path and the family life path, and that this allowed her to have independence in her religious, ultimately spiritual life. So this fall, I've read a few books about her, and this fall I read one that had 7 key lessons from her life and from her revelations of divine love. And these feel so relevant to this time that I wanted to bring them to you. So the first one is, and this is her language, and I kind of just put them as like short mantras and meditations. So at this point, now that you know a little bit about her, um, you may find like a comfortable seat or lay down or just kind of look around, if you're out on a walk or something, so that you can kind of absorb these teachings into your life. Feel free to pause them and take notes. I can put the text that I'm going to read into this post so that you can see it, and really have them beside you during this time, during this year, this strength year, this justice year that we have in tarot. All right, so the first one, do not flee the darkness. Stick around for everything. She says the chaos, the suffering, the unknowing, and the dark night of the soul. Number 2, do not forget the deep down goodness of things that pervades existence itself, which should elicit joy and awe and wonder, a philosophy of goodness, the metaphysics of goodness, while living side by side, day in and day out, with pain and suffering. Number 3, take deep reflection and appreciation of the divinity to be found in nature as a whole cosmos, as well as in the creatures and all beings that dwell in nature. And there was a quote from Emily Dickinson that the author, who I believe was Matthew Fox, put into the book, which said, "In the name of the bee, the butterfly, and the breeze." That's an Emily Dickinson quote. Number 4, the return of the divine feminine gives a deep sense of the motherhood of God, that there's a gender balance alive in our souls, our institutions, and our culture. Invite the feminine dimensions of divinity, allowing us to return to natural balances and health. And remember, this was a time, anyway, I don't want to say too much. I want you to have your own experience. Just put yourself back into the 1350s, 60s, and think about this wisdom, this teaching on returning of the divine feminine into a sense of the mothering of God. Number 5. This time calls us to our deepest self, our most noble self, our truest self, and to an experience of non-dualism between us and the divine. Number 6. Have trust and courage in our own bodiliness and earthliness, our sexuality, our sensuality, and our spirituality, sexuality, sensuality, spirituality, come together in sacred marriage. Non-dualism can grace all our relations, and courage is born of this trust. So when we trust our bodies and the earth, we have this coming together of these pillars, and then courage comes out of the trust. It's born of the trust. And the last one, number 7. Ooh, I have the chills. Love unites us all. Stand up to the forces that destroy, face uncertainty and deep darkness. We realize when we face uncertainty and deep darkness, we realize that the shadow is inside, outside, our dreams, institutions, inner lives, and outer work. Politics and economics, but the warrior within us all can rise up armed with the trust and courage that we need to spread love and make justice and compassion happen. In doing this, a promise is set forth that someday all can be well. I'm going to repeat number 7 because there's so much here that just feels so deeply resonant to this time as well. Love unites us all. Stand up to the forces that destroy. Facing uncertainty and deep darkness, we realize that the shadow is inside, outside, our dreams, institutions, inner lives, and outer work. There's politics and economics, but the warrior within us can rise up armed with trust and courage to spread love and make justice and compassion happen. In doing this, a promise is set forth that someday all can be well. I think of these tarot cards of the year, Strength and Justice, where we see this courage alongside a deep integration and understanding of the reality of being a human being on the earth at this time. And in the choices that we're making in relationship to self, other, community, God, whatever that means to you. That's a whole different talk, but it's like, where does that come alive now? And we have these beautiful 7 invitations to meditate on and marinate on and talk about. And so hopefully this is the beginning sprinklings of working with the deeper wisdom of Julian of Norwich.